This is the Relevant Podcast.
It's Friday, January 21st, 2022, and it's the Relevant Podcast here in Orlando. I'm your host, Cameron Strang, and joining me from Loverland, Virginia, is Jesse Carey.
Hello, hello.
From Nashville, Tennessee, artist, producer, mogul, Derek Miner.
What up, though?
And Jamie Ivey is off this week, and so joining us from East Texas, downtown, Emily Brown.
Hey, y'all.
Nacogdoches in the crib.
Okay, I have an update. I actually don't live in Nacogdoches anymore.
What?
I know.
Where'd you move?
This is the ultimate Gen Z young millennial lifestyle. Tell them where you're living.
Well, it's New York or San Francisco.
I'm technically homeless. Right. I am just traveling and couch hopping and staying with friends or renting Airbnbs, places that I want to live.
You Gen Z for real. I bet she's for real Gen Z.
I rented an apartment in Paris for a month, so I'll be there in a couple weeks. I'm currently in Fort Worth, my brother's house. Okay. But yeah, she's
doing the tour. She's going to come to Florida. She's like, for the next year, she's just going to float around the country.
I know you're going to come to Nashville.
I do want to come to Nashville, actually.
Girl, if you come to Nashville and we don't go get some good coffee, some hot chicken, you know what I'm saying? We'll go do some of them things.
That's what I need. I need a guide in every city that I go to. So
I'm your guide. Yes. Let me be your guide.
We'll ignore Tyler.
I will give you a taste.
Derek's it.
Tyler don't know what he's talking about. Tyler gonna take you to all the places that's white and they don't season their food. I'm gonna take you to the places that's gonna have
and that's what I want.
You know what I'm saying? It's gonna have some white people there. But it's gonna have some, you know what I'm saying, some different people there too. You know what I mean? We're gonna do some things. You feel me?
Tyler will take you to places like an artisan pickle truck where everything is like disgusting. The proprietors of said truck have like handlebar mustaches.
Yes.
And they spend more time with the photos of the pickles for Instagram than they do on the actual pickles. And everyone's just plowing them down like they're the new hot thing. And it's just some weird hipster food on the outskirts of East Nashville.
One thing I will say about hipsters, though, now they may not season some of their food, they may dress weird, but they make the best milkshakes known to
milkshakes.
Man.
I would say this. I would trust the hipster.
I'm talking about the different milkshakes. The milkshakes.
That's the thing. Like the
grown-up milkshakes.
The grown-up milkshakes.
Oh, yes.
That have. I'm saying. They're like, yo, and we mixed this with the flowers that have been chewed up by God and spit out by angels. We have dashed the center of the drink with that. And then you have to eat a wood-fired orange peel slice first before you can drink it. And it's going to taste like you just had heaven. You know what I'm saying? That's how they do it.
It's not just cocktails either. Like if you drink one of these hipster artisan sodas, it's like we source sugar cane from a rare sugar cane valley in an area of the Himalayas.
Yes.
You know, that springs once a year. And these, and like they put a lot of time.
You like, no, this tastes like a Sprite though.
But you can trust hipsters on the liquids. But when it comes to the solid foods, here's my experience in that, and I feel like I eat a lot. And that is, the older the person is running the food place, the better it is.
Yes.
They spent their whole life making the same sandwich and the same 5 meals over and over again, and they've perfected it. These hipsters, they're rolling into town on their weird little food trucks. They're experimenting on the fly. They're mixing up that menu all the time and just winging it.
Look, dog, don't nobody want no chitlin egg rolls, bro. I know that you like, we gonna take some soul food and mix it with Asian, but bro, we don't want no chitlin egg rolls. We don't want no you know what I'm saying? We don't want no hot chicken fried rice. Let fried rice be fried rice and hot chicken be hot chicken. You feel me? We mix it too much.
And that's why I'm going to trust Derek with the food recommendations. But I will listen to Tyler for drink recommendations. But I got to have my different guides when I come to Nashville.
Yeah. So she's floating, man. So no more Nacogdoches. Like, is Nacogdoches forever in the rearview mirror?
I don't know.
I mean, do you have stuff there?
Oh, I have a storage unit there. Yeah. So I'll go back. A lot of my Nacogdoches friends, they have told me that they are praying that I come back. And I've told them that I am praying against that because I love Nacogdoches, but I am ready to be out of East Texas and I don't know where I want to go. So part of the reason I'm traveling is to figure out where do I want to live? Because
sampling. You're sampling America and Paris.
And Paris, yeah. So
not bad.
That's my life right now. Very Gen Z, apparently.
Well, let us know of all of the artisan little tucked away places.
I will tell you where to find the best artisan pickle in America.
Good. That, if that was just, I feel like we're so inundated with just content, fire hoses from all sides on, Netflix, the podcast. If there was just a show where just someone aimlessly wandered the country looking for the best pickle, I got to be honest, we're at the point where I've watched everything. I'm in. I'm watching this pickle show. And I feel like after Netflix released it, if it was just called The Pickle Hunter, right? And you just saw that on your Netflix screen and you just one night burned through 8 episodes and it's just a young, ambitious Gen Zer roaming America's great cities looking for the best pickle. I feel like everyone would be tweeting about it. It was just like, Jesse, I feel like the formula is getting very easy here.
That's just Guy Fieri. That's Guy Fieri's show. He roams America looking for donkey sauce. I mean,
I would love to be part of Guy Fieri's. I mean, he's great. I would love to just travel with him. What?
Emily, this is true. Guy Fieri opened his first chicken restaurant with it's here, literally a mile from my house. And there's lines around the block because people are waiting for the donkey sauce and stuff. Apparently the whole thing of this chicken restaurant is all the sauces, all the Guy Fieri sauces. Okay. And so it's fried chicken, but then the special thing. And here's the weird thing is it's literally next door to a Chick-fil-A, next door to a Popeyes, next door to a PDQ, which is a fried chicken place. They're calling it the chicken strip because there's all these chicken restaurants next door to each other. It's crazy.
That's fine. I like that.
So Guy Fieri, when you come to Florida, we'll go experience the Guy Fieri phenomenon.
Okay, we have to now.
Yeah. All right. I know, Jesse, he's your hero. So next time you're down.
Big time. Like I said, when we were considering the third and possibly final, because it would potentially be fatal, a test of psychological human endurance after doing the Nickelback marathon, the Trapped in the Cage, Nicolas Cage marathon. The next step for me seemed like it was a Lost in Flavor Town situation where it was eating nothing but Guy Fieri food for 1 month. The rule is it has to be a Guy Fieri branded food. Now, we do have a local restaurant here, a big one, actually. It was very controversial. People did not want his restaurant here.
Why?
They were very vocal, but they made it, and I've never been, but I know where it is, and I drive by there, and it seems to be very successful.
What is it?
The rule would be, it's called Guy Fieri's something, like Guy Fieri's place, or it's a giant Guy Fieri branded restaurant.
That's
interesting.
But
my point is, for the Lost in Flavor Town challenge, I don't think I could do this because it might sacrifice. I think the years would just be shaven off the end of my life. Would be to eat nothing but Guy Fieri branded food for 1 month. Call it Lost in Flavor Town, and it would either have to be the frozen food or the stuff from the restaurant, and just see what would happen. Raise money for a good cause. Though I'm pretty certain
diabetes awareness.
We've pushed the limits with what the sponsors, what organizations, what kind of money they'll even accept. I don't even think they want the donations that would come in. Hey, I know Tyler's coming on for relevant news, but can we address one story that I don't think, and you guys can correct me and we can kill this if it's wrong. I feel like we need to give a quick spit take. Everywhere was talking about the spit incident. And I got a take that I've been thinking about here,
Todd,
and I can give context.
Actually, you know what? Let's bring that up in relevant news. Okay. We have been covering it all. The spit heard around the world was covered on relevantmagazine.com. And
we got to be real careful with what we naming these things, guys.
And then literally right before we start recording this, we recorded on Wednesday, I just posted on Relevant's IG a bunch of how the internet reacted to Spitgate.
I got a take here.
All right, let's bring Tyler in because he and Emily have been at the forefront of that news, that breaking news all week long. So, all right, well, stay tuned. Up next, Tyler joins us for Relevant News.
This car drive behind you, you can let them go. Still she'll laugh at you behind your back. There's no water here, there's just a wide open road, and it leads you up the garden path.
You're listening to The Wombats. The song is This Car Drives All By Itself. Assuming it's talking about Teslas. Well, today's show is brought to you by BetterHelp. In 2022, it's definitely okay to talk about our mental health and happiness. We aren't meant to keep everything inside. It makes us sick, and therapy helps. But what is therapy exactly? It's whatever you want it to be. Maybe you're not feeling motivated right now and would like some tools to help, or maybe you're feeling insecure in relationships or at work, or not dealing well with stress. BetterHelp is customized online therapy that offers video, phone, and even live chat sessions with your therapist, so you don't have to see anyone on camera if you don't want to. It's much more affordable than in-person therapy, and you can start communicating with your therapist in under 48 hours. Join the millions of people who are seeing what therapy is really about. See if it's for you, because you are your greatest asset. And right now, Relevant Podcast listeners have a special deal. You can sign up right now for BetterHelp and get 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/relevant. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/relevant to save 10% off your first month. Okay, it's time for
Relevant News.
Please welcome to the show Relevant Senior Editor Tyler Huckabee, telling us what's happening at the intersection of faith and culture this week. Now, Tyler, right before you came on, I know you have a planned item today, but Jesse has requested that you also bring up the Mike Todd spit take. Mm-hmm. So if maybe we could jump into that. Jesse apparently has a hot take. Right. Tell the listeners what the uproar was about this week.
I'm gonna wade in carefully here to this.
Derek's literally rubbing his forehead. He's so stressed out right now.
No, I feel like my take is going to bring a lot of healing to America. So let me preface it by that.
That's a big statement.
Good. All right. I would imagine
I stand by it.
I would imagine most people, if you're listening to this podcast, I would imagine that you probably know at least a little bit of what we're talking about here, but just in case, I'll give a quick breakdown of what happened this week in Mike Todd's church. Mike Todd is, of course, the pastor of Transformation Church in Tulsa, Oklahoma. It's a very big church. He's a very successful pastor, a successful author. He's been on. He's written for Relevant. I believe he's been on this podcast before. But he went viral for several reasons, none of which are super desirable, for a sermon illustration he did in which he was describing how God's vision for your life can get a little nasty, he said. And to demonstrate this, he had a congregant who I believe was his brother, I read, the congregant that he brought on stage, and he spit into his hands and he rubbed the spit over this man's face. That was, and when I say spit, it's grosser, I think, even than it sounds. Like, it was a lot of spit. And this created this clip went very, very viral, and people had a lot of different opinions about it. You can hear if you watch the clip, you can hear the crowd really. People are pretty shocked by what happened. It's a shocking thing to witness, to the point where Mike Todd then addressed it. He released a video saying that he apologized. He said the spit hit the fan and he crossed a line. He said it was a distraction from the message he was trying.
A lot of people are pointing out on Instagram that he did not apologize. He addressed it.
He stopped short of saying he was sorry, but he called it a distraction, and he did say that he felt like he crossed a line. So I would say he at least expressed some regret or noted that he probably should not have done it. So that was the Mike Todd case that happened over the weekend.
Yeah.
All right. So I was following this, not probably as intimately as you guys. I did see the coverage, which seemed thorough and fair-minded, but I was following a lot of this on Twitter and just watching the discourse.
That's dude. Some of the internet had so much fun with this. It was so fun and we're shocked. Yeah,
but okay. Here's my thing. I was watching it and I saw more, and I use the word here, outrage, very like a very qualified outrage, because outrage these days, people get outraged over everything and they feign outrage, and it's fashionable to find a new thing to be collectively outraged about and then target a single individual who's really painted into a corner with that outrage. So yeah, I watched the video and the sermon illustration that he does where he's hawking these loogies in his hand, smearing them over his brother's face. It's gross. Okay. We all agree with that. But here's the thing. Like he was trending on Twitter. Like I didn't see one person defending this dude. Right. And I'm not saying it was the most wise decision or that it was an effective I'm not even saying it was an effective sermon illustration, but I was shocked at the level of just collective malice.
Yeah.
That was, and some of it was good humored, right? Like some of it was funny.
The ones we posted were funny. Like they weren't mean.
Exactly.
But you know what?
That's the thing.
When we were posting the little collage of them on Instagram this week, there was a couple really funny ones that we found and we're like, hey, let's just post a whole bunch of them. And Tyler and Emily went to go grab more and they were like, man, they're all mean. They're all like angry. You know what I mean? It's like the internet actually got really, like, to make your point, the internet got really upset about this.
And to Tyler's point, look, Mike Todd's been on this podcast. He's been in the magazine. It's like, it's okay to have like a fun, to poke fun at someone kind of on the inside. But when all of a sudden it becomes this like knives out, we have pastors right now that are literally preaching who've incited sedition. Okay. Like a literal federal crimes. We have pastors that get away regularly with like embezzlement, with toxic behavior, with,
affairs.
Harassing women, with infidelity, with blatant distortions of the gospel to prop up, some sort of political take or racial animosity or white supremacy. And they get a pass every day. And the one thing that sends all of collective, Christian Twitter and adjacent Christian Twitter, not just into, okay, let's have some fun with this pastor who did a goofy sermon illustration that, maybe was a little too far, to, hey, we're just gonna all kind of go at this one dude for one kind of misguided sermon illustration. He didn't do anything morally wrong. Like he didn't do anything ethically wrong. He was just making a joke.
Dude, my thing, I'm with you 1,000%. My thing is like, after we were covering this, is like, can we have more of these scandals in the church, please? Like, you know what I mean? Because like, this is not a scandal. It was gross.
It's nothing.
It got the internet.
I won't say it's nothing.
Yeah, but I mean, it's like gross. He addressed it and whatever. We can go on with our lives. I would prefer that this is the worst kind of scandal that hits the internet from the church. Great. More of it, please. You know what I mean?
My perspective on the whole thing was Jesse, I think you nailed it right on the head for me. Cause I'm sitting here thinking, I'm like, yo, all right, we know Mike Todd, when it comes to illustrations, bro is on a bazillion.
Yeah.
He swung and missed.
Right.
And missed badly. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, yo, he blew it. But I saw people calling the man demonic.
Yeah.
Like I saw people calling him like a charlatan and all these other things. I'm like, so y'all are telling me this dumb, stupid illustration, it was dumb for him to do this. Like, and this I think might come from you just not running your illustrations by some just like regular people to be like, yo, what you think about this? It's cool. He probably go fix that now. You know what I'm saying? But I'm like, yo, the man, you calling him demonic, an abuser? Like, we're going to take all the stuff that he's done for his community and we're going to boil it down to this one moment, which it really, for me, it solidified one of the main reasons why, like, I honestly don't care about being a celebrity in no shape, form, or fashion. Like, because I just look at all my friends, like Lecrae. Lecrae served white evangelicals for 15 years straight. He was the guy that y'all used and said, yo, he is, and it's not white evangelicals. This is just church people in general. I'm not making this even a racial thing, but I'm like, just Christians in general. Like, man, I feel like worse than just regular humans, we build people up to tear them down. Like, it's terrible. Like, it is awful. Like, I'm seeing, because right now, I think, and I might be just a little passionate right now, because I just saw, I don't know if y'all were going to cover this, but Brady, Fanatic from Cross Movement, just said that he's no longer a Christian. And he's like, I got some things I got to figure out, right? And he's not, it's like him and a bunch of people that I know that are like, hey, I'm no longer a Christian. And they're like, everybody's like throwing stones at these guys and saying how evil they weren't off and we knew you weren't nothing and blah, 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 blah. And just throwing stones like, you never were a believer. I never liked you. You never were a Christian. You never were this. You never were that. And it's like, you're seeing all of that. And I'm saying like, yo, how in the world is that effective at all in showing God's love in any way? If one person saying, hey, I'm either made a mistake or I have questions, will all of a sudden get the collective vitriol of the whole church. But then you got these same guys that incite, all kind of other stuff, and we don't have it's like we're fighting the wrong battles sometimes. I'm like, yo, we're fighting the wrong battles. I'm sorry, I gotta get off. I'm off my soapbox, but that just really bothers me a little bit.
It's a legit. I mean, look. It's like, yeah, Jesus said, let's not stone the woman caught in adultery. Let's instead stone the pastor. And I'm not obviously condoning stoning adultery, but I'm just giving a biblical illustration. Like,
you're saying to get stoned. That's what you're saying.
What I'm saying is like, Jesus said, like, look, let's extend grace even in people caught in like extreme circumstances. This wasn't an extreme circumstance. Like, it just wasn't. Like, all of us went to youth group. When I went to youth camp, something like this was before the pastor even took the stage. Someone got spit on as part of a funny illustration. Like youth camp when I was growing up was like watching the Tom Green show or like a Jackass stunt 90% of the time. 90% of my youth pastor's job was trying to find a more outrageous way to illustrate a very basic biblical point. I've seen people consume like a vat of toothpaste that pretty much everyone in the youth group had spit into just for an icebreaker. Like youth group jokes like this would happen all the time. Like, and I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm just saying, let's keep this in perspective here. Like, this is not like a huge thing. It's one thing to have a little fun with it because that's the intent of an illustration like this is to goof with it a little. That's fine. But let's not try to, cancel someone for just, goofing off in a church service and no one was harmed,
Exactly. Yeah. You're right that wasn't going to be my point, but that's a good conversation. That's probably the most reasonable thing I've seen anybody say about it. So thanks, guys.
I just keep coming back to more of these scandals and less of the other kind. Thank you very much, Mike Todd, for giving us something else to focus on. Anyway.
Yeah, and people and like, hey, we can counterbalance this. I'm not saying you have to go and make some big donation to a church, but hey, show a little love. If you see him doing something good, why not respond with the same degree of enthusiasm for when he does one thing that, rubs you the wrong way?
Well, look at the energy on his apology. Like, I'm like, he came out 24 hours and put together and like, yeah, people can nitpick the man's apology, say, well, he didn't say the words, I apologize. But I mean, come on now. We know that if you use context clues, the man has a level of remorse. Like do you want people picking apart your apology? You know what I'm saying? Like it's this idea that there's always some sort of conspiracy that maybe it's just somebody did something stupid and they came out and said, my bad. Like maybe there's not a conspiracy. Maybe he didn't say, well, guess what? I'm going to say all this word salad or some stuff like this, but I'm not going to apologize because I want to, like, that's dumb. Like, yo, why in the world are we the man spat in his hand and did some dumb stuff. I ain't gonna lie. He's spitting, anybody spitting their hand, try to put it on my face, I'm gonna slide out their mouth. But I'm just saying, he apologized. You let the man live.
Yeah, let's just move on. There's too many real things happening in the world, to have to deal with this too. Tyler, do you have anything? Can you pull us out of this? What did you actually bring today, and can you do it briefly?
So this is not controversial, but I am interested in you guys' thoughts on this. And I'm hesitant to do this because I don't really understand this world very well at all. But maybe you guys can shine a little light for me. We are going to be talking about crypto a little bit, about cryptocurrency.
Oh gosh!
So put your crypto hat on,
yes,
because this is going to get weird too. So for this story to really make sense, we have to start by talking about Dune. Before the Denis Villeneuve movie came out earlier this year, decades ago, there's a filmmaker in France by the name of Alejandro Jodorowsky, and he had put together a pitch book for his idea for an adaptation of the novel, of the Dune book. He had recruited this artist to draw all these, these ideas of what it would look like, and he sent it to Frank Herbert, the authors of Dune estate, and said, I want to make this. Will you let me make this? And they took a look at it, and they were like, nah, this isn't quite what we're going for. It fell through. For whatever reason, it fell through. It didn't happen. But a few of these books still exist out there, and the Dune heads are very passionate about these. It's like it became a big collector's item. There's only a few of them available, so they're very expensive. And if you're a real Dune fan, it's kind of like the holy grail. Like, I got to get my hands on a copy of that. So one of these ended up going up for auction last year, and it was expected to fetch around $30,000 to $40,000 in this auction. But a group of crypto bros calling themselves the Spice DAO pooled their crypto resources together, and they bought it for $3 million once you transfer that crypto over to US dollars. The bidding was not at $3 million. Nobody was telling them they had to spend that much on it. They just wanted to spend a lot of money. They pooled their resources and they came up with $3 million under the belief that this would then transfer them the copyright to make the Dune movie in this pitch book for their own, to basically freelance it and then create their own Dune cinematic universe independent of the Warner Bros. Movie that came out earlier this year. They obviously don't really understand how copyright law works. Just because you bought a book doesn't mean that the rights to that book come along with it. Now they're sort of trying to backtrack and say, well, we're going to make a movie inspired by this Dune book, but it'll have to skirt the copyright for the actual Dune movie that came out earlier this year. And I think this gets into sort of a lot of the confusion that I mentioned earlier about people don't really understand what crypto is and what NFTs are, and how you can't just because you own this book doesn't mean you actually own the rights. Like, the real world still exists for the time being. And now these guys are trying to backtrack and create their own Dune Light, maybe, or like Diet Dune movie that would be inspired by this, but wouldn't actually be Dune. And it's not clear why you would even need the book to create
and
this.
See, the mistake they made was to actually say that's what they're doing, because now you just admitted to creating a derivative work. It's a derivative, so you're still going to have to pay them in some sort of way because you're making a derivative of their work. Right, like, this is. I feel bad for them. I kind of don't, because they should have just got a lawyer.
They literally thought buying a book gave them the creative license to make
a rare book.
That's crazy.
This really, and I know this is probably, I know the people listening and might find this offensive, but I don't really care. But this really, underscores a lot of the sort of not just suspicions, just flat out assumptions I've had, but not everyone, but a lot of people involved in like cryptocurrency and NFT sort of kind of get rich schemes, like people who don't really kind of understand the kind of founding principles of those movements, right? Like, cryptocurrency was not invented to be some sort of trading, Ponzi assets, to based on completely unstable markets of. That can be hyperinflated based on a meme, right? Like NFTs, if you ever explain someone an NFT, you might as well tell them, right now, I could tell you the technology, or I could just tell you it's an overinflated marketplace for kind of ugly cartoons, like most of it right now. But like most of the people that are trying to undercut the founding ideas behind what a non-fungible token is, or a cryptocurrency that protects people's privacy and is kind of can subvert kind of different type of international regulation. A lot of those people are no longer involved in the conversation because it's just been sort of over flooded with people who are just trying to figure out a way to get rich off of this kind of trend, and that seems like it's ruining the whole thing.
Dude, I saw a kind of deep cut analysis of the NFT bubble that's happening, and listen, people are getting rich on NFTs. I'm not saying that this is all smoke and mirrors. People are flipping NFTs and making a lot of money, but it is a bubble right now. And somebody likened it to the Beanie Baby bubble of the 80s, and that is an exact parallel. of there were people making money. It was a supply and demand thing. It was, and then like there's a documentary right now about the rise and fall of the Beanie Baby thing. And they're like predicting the NFT thing will parallel it and all this stuff. And they're calling it virtual Beanie Babies now. It's like, so.
Oh yeah. My homeboy is making millions off of NFTs right now.
Yeah.
I mean, he is getting paid. But
the question is, in 5 years, will it still be always ever growing, or will there be a downside to this curve?
Well, what I told him, I said, man, think of it as you just got a huge advance for the future. So don't adjust your lifestyle to think that this is the beginning. I mean, I'm like, just as fast as something goes up, it can come down just that fast. And he was like, yo, no, he's like, I'm fully aware that this is a moment.
Right.
And I've been blessed to be kind of at the forefront of the moment. And he's like, I don't know how long it's going to ride. All I'm going to do is just get as much out of it as I can get out of it.
And just like Beanie Babies, it's the people who come at the peak. And they come in, that hits the masses, and then they all come in, and then the crash. But the people who were early, they make their money and they get out, and that's going to happen.
Here's what I'm
NFTs.
interested in, Emily. I'm interested in your opinion, because this is your generation.
I don't want this to be a part of our generation. I know it's real. I just have not heard a convincing argument that cryptocurrency is not fake. In my mind, it just is not. It's just fake money, like monopoly money. And so the fact that you can buy things with it, it just is so ridiculous. I do think it's funny that these guys who quote unquote understand cryptocurrency don't understand basic copyright laws. That's very funny to me. Because this is like, you can tell me that this fake internet money is real, but you don't understand that just simply buying a book does not, like, how do you, I don't understand. It just is. It's so weird to me. And I think what you're saying is so true. I am aware that this is definitely a moment. It might last for a couple of years. We are not going to base our entire society around cryptocurrency. And so I'm like, why are we investing in this whatsoever? It's going to go away. I think it's
the
dumb.
one thing about NFTs that may not go away is how it can merge with the metaverse stuff.
Yeah, like that also seems fake to me. So that's
guys, it's V-Bucks.
Yeah,
if
you've
ever played Fortnite,
right, it's V-Bucks.
Crypto is V-Bucks.
Right.
You
NFTs.
use real money to buy fake money to buy stuff inside of the Fortnite verse.
Right.
That's what. So in my mind, if you want to know what the metaverse is, just play Fortnite.
That's right.
You'll understand it all. I started playing Fortnite with my kids, and the metaverse made all the sense in the world. It's
absolutely
the digital copy of who you are. Right. So these kids, like, they judge you if you have trust me. Obviously my kids have skins because I pay for them. And I go in there and I don't have any skins, and 11-year-olds are talking to me like I am the 11-year-old, and they're the ones that are spending their father's money. I'm like, yo, I got pressure so bad I had to go buy some skins. Because my son came downstairs and said, "Hey, Dad, it's embarrassing. You should get some skins, Dad. You're embarrassing me." So I had to go get. That's what crypto is.
And
it's
that's
gonna be.
I think NFTs and all that stuff too, right? Yeah. It'll be the things that you're buying in the digital universe and stuff, and there will be a practical application of that in the future. But this little bubble of like just buying monkey avatars for $4 million, like I'd be a little wary of jumping into those waters.
Because the NFT itself gives you actually no usable right. You don't actually own a copyright. You own a single version of it that it's, the artist still owns,
10%.
I love when people take screenshots of it and just post it on Twitter, because it's like, what are you going to do? You can't sue me.
and it's like the scandal that everyone's making fun of it. It's so against these are guys who were thought they found a loophole in intellectual property, in IP, and we're trying to take someone else's intellectual property, claim that property and then commoditize it for their own financial benefit. That is against the very that kind of thinking was the reason Bitcoin was even invented in the first place, because it was sort of this egalitarian, anti-capitalist sort of side economy that was based on anonymity, not claiming other people's IP. Like, it's just so backwards from the ideas that this whole thing was founded on. It's like, okay, I think we've lost the plot a little with crypto. It might be time for this to cool off a little.
Well, the NFT thing is interesting too, and how it relates to this news story is like one evolution I'm seeing from a lot of entrepreneurs is there's an NFT component to tangible real world access and experiences. So like Gary Vee is launching a restaurant and he's selling NFTs at different levels, and you can gain access to different levels of that restaurant in the real world if you own the NFTs. It's like a membership card, right? And so like I think that evolution will be interesting. That's what these guys were trying to jumpstart. Like, I'm going to buy the digital rights to this book and I'm going to make a real world movie out of owning that thing. You know what I mean? I think if NFTs can figure out a tangible benefit other than just I have a monkey avatar on Twitter, like I think then it'll have some more mass adoption, but it'll just be interesting to watch. And just y'all, like anything else, like there's no get rich quick scheme that is usually long lasting. So just be careful.
If it sounds too good to be true, it's too good to be true. Cause I know some people, I got a homie right now, I'm telling you, he's making millions off of NFTs, but I know some other people that are making pennies. Yeah. They're spending a lot of money. They may not even be making anything. Like it's not for everybody. And more than likely, this is me and my homeboy talking about this with stocks. When your barber starts talking about the stock or the NFT, you're too late. It's over. By the time it makes it to the barber shop, you're the dummy if you jump in. Right. Like it's too late.
Okay, thanks, Tyler.
Thanks, guys.
Check out everything we're covering over at relevantmagazine.com. Make it part of your daily web surfing and follow us on all the socials for the latest. All right, stay tuned. Up next, Brooke Ligertwood joins us.
Don't you know but I know you're thinking of someone else.
You're listening to URL. The song is Honey. Well, today's show is also brought to you by UHSM. Healthcare costs have been growing year after year and can lead to a lot of confusion. Thankfully, UHSM offers great and affordable health for everyone. Unite Health Share Ministries, or UHSM, is a Christian health sharing ministry that puts your health before anything else. Now, health sharing isn't insurance. The programs at UHSM are member-based fellowships where faithful people can take charge of their own health care. UHSM offers different programs to meet any and all of your needs, from telehealth options to plans that cover the unexpected moments in life. UHSM has something for everyone. For more info, head over to UHSM.org or contact a representative at 800-900-8476. Again, you can find out more about UHSM at UHSM.org or talk to a rep at 800-900-8476. Where our guest today is Brooke Ligertwood. You know her. She's been a worship leader with Hillsong Worship for over a decade. She's worked with countless Christian artists. Her new single is called 1,000 Hallelujahs, and it just came out. She's releasing her solo album, 7, in just a couple of weeks. We sat down with Brooke to discuss what has inspired her within the last year and what she sees for the future of the church. You know, little thing like that. Here's our conversation with Brooke Ligertwood.
Album coming out is called 7 because it's your 7th album, which is exciting. I'd love to know, where did the inspiration for this album come from?
So this album was a great surprise to me. I never thought or desired to ever release a project of worship songs under my own name. And I joke with my team, like half jokingly, like half serious, that this is the Alpha and the Omega. Like this will probably be the last one. This is not like the beginning of a trajectory for me. This is a step of obedience. I'm still very much, planted in Hillsong Church and part of Hillsong worship, and love that. I love that. And I think it's so important that, that I'm always part of something that's bigger than me and not about me, and a team. I love being part of a team and those beautiful things. So that continues. And then obviously my mainstream career with Brooke Fraser, that is what it is. So it was a great surprise to me when last year the Lord kind of brought all of these songs into my life in a very short period of time. And as they kept kind of coming and being completed, I very quickly, well, actually, no, I'm a little slow, so maybe not that quickly. But after a few weeks, I was like, Lord, what are you doing? Because I've been making albums long enough to know when you have a group of 10 songs or when you have a group of 10 songs that belong together and that are a collective statement. And so I definitely was not trying to write an album, but this is what happened. And so we recorded it live very recently, just November 2021, and it has been just a joy and a sacred, beautiful thing. And I hope that it is helpful to people this year. And it's coming out next month.
You mentioned that you started writing these songs, but you said you didn't intend to write them. It was more of an act of obedience. And I would think a majority of artists sit down intentionally to create an album, but it seems like it was backwards for you. So I'm curious, what does songwriting look like for you?
Well, I guess it's different depending on which hat I'm wearing. And I suppose why the album 7 was a surprise was because I wasn't wearing any hat. And then usually, if I'm writing, I will know pretty quickly, this feels like a Hillsong worship song, or this feels like a, whatever. If I'm, writing with a friend, this might feel like something that they're going to record. But because I have never recorded a worship album under my own name, and like I said, probably never will again, it didn't even occur to me that these would be songs I should put out. And I think it was actually the song Nineveh that I talked about before, which was the first song that made me go, huh? Because I wrote it with my friend, Pastor Stephen Furtick from Elevation, and it was very clearly not a Hillsong worship song and not an Elevation song. So I was kind of like, what do we do with this? So when I sit down to write, I'm very much open to whatever happens. I'm not necessarily a fast writer. I'm happy to take 2 or 3 years on a song, 2 or 3 months on a song. So I'm just kind of, pretty open. And then usually the Lord kind of makes obvious, this is where this is supposed to go. And sometimes that's nowhere. It's like, this is just a song that's supposed to be here in this bedroom. And that will be it. Yeah.
You mentioned that you worked with Stephen Furtick, and I know you worked with so many others. What was it like to collaborate with a group of people you don't get to work with very often?
Yeah. Well, I think that's why I set out to write in May, just with a bunch of my friends that I hadn't seen for the entirety of the pandemic, and people so it was really kind of just an excuse to hang out with my friends, to be honest. It's like, let's write, but actually it's like, I love it because it's often just like, sitting in rooms with cups of tea or coffee and some snacks, and then really like digging into meaty conversation, which I love. I love a good conversation. I love speaking with thinkers, with people who love to, toss and turn around ideas. So I really, when I had that, set aside that time with those particular friends, it was just so fun, so refreshing. I love Stephen Furtick. I love the way that he thinks. He's so brilliant with concepts. And I just really enjoy him as a person, love speaking with him. And so we had written previously, but with other people. So for it just to be him and I, and for us to go really kind of molecular on things was so fun. And I also just adore the songs that came out of that time too. Yeah.
Something we talk about a lot is what the next generation of the church will be like, and you get a really unique view of literally seeing the next generation worship. So I'd love to know, what do you think of the next generation, and how do you see them shaping the church?
The few things that I feel like I do suspect are true, I feel more strongly than ever are probably true, and indeed true. And I just know that I take great comfort in the fact that the church is not ours. And no matter how much us humans put in what would appear to be a Herculean effort to screw it up, it's actually not ours. It's Jesus's church. And so he builds it. And I think we can see throughout history, I think I don't know if it's Eugene Peterson or somebody who refers to the sawtoothed history of Israel, the sawtoothed, and I think we can apply that to, the post-Acts church as well, the sawtoothed. We have a sawtoothed history. It's up and down. We obey and place glory in the right place and do the right thing, and then we don't, and then we mess it up, and then it all appears to go to poop. And then we repent and we remember and we return. And then the Lord, rebuilds and restores and so on and so forth. So I think we find ourselves, I think perhaps maybe in the generation alive today, most people haven't experienced what we're experiencing now. So a lot of it feels new, a lot of the tension, a lot of the, cacophony, a lot of the dysfunction feels new. But actually, if we look at history, we know that it's not. And I also take great comfort in the fact, actually, that that God is merciful and He's also holy. So He'll let us carry on for a bit, but not forever. Before He kind of comes and cleans house a little. So I think there's some cleaning house happening, and I welcome it. But I also pray that I can be on the right side of it, because I'm on the right side of Him, hopefully, and also take it as a cue to, Lord, where in my own life are there things that You are just not stoked about and need to deal with? And let me not be the last to know. Let me be the first to hear and respond to You and bring things into alignment that are out a little bit. And just letting the Lord be the Lord.
That was Brooke Ligertwood. Stay tuned. Up next, it's your feedback.
I don't wanna be sad, running circles around me. And I love it, I hate it, I want it, I need it, I need it all. Need it all. I don't wanna be sad, I don't got nothing to prove around me. And I love it, I hate it, so complicated. It's what I want, it's what I trust. I got drama in my life on purpose. It matters so much, then it's worthless.
You're listening to Cautious Clay. The song is Rapture in Blue. Love that he's releasing new stuff. If you didn't see our feature with Cautious Clay, I think it was 2 issues ago, you can go over to relevantmagazine.com and search for it. It's great. Okay, it's time for your feedback. Last week, we got talking about the gateway to hell, the big fire pit, the enormous fire pit in I can't say it. There it is. And it got us thinking about natural phenomenon that, this world is full of some crazy stuff. We have a creative God. And it got us thinking about natural phenomenon. So we asked you, what's your favorite obscure or weird natural phenomenon that everyone should know about? You guys hit us up on Twitter at Relevant Podcast. Send us some links, some really good ones. Here's some of our favorites.
Okay, so this one isn't necessarily a natural phenomenon, but I have a personal story about this. Cameron, do you remember the center of the universe in downtown Tulsa?
Of course I do. It was a perfect place to go after a date because it was like downtown Tulsa is totally dead at night and like nobody was there and you could go and like hang out and talk. And it's like this weird echo chamber situation. It's just a really weird spot.
It's an open air echo chamber. It's basically how they have sort of visually, it doesn't look like anything very significant. But when you stand in the middle of this concrete, it creates this, here's how Andrew describes it. When you're standing there, it sounds like an audio engineer has turned up a plate reverb for your voice. Like basically like you kind of hear this, you feel like you're in an enclosed, tight kind of chamber, even though you're standing outside. It's a very, very interesting place. Weird. Yeah, and I think anyone who's spent any time in Tulsa, or to Cameron's point, has gone on a date in Tulsa,
or gone rollerblading through the empty streets and on a Saturday in the 90s. Go rollerblading around downtown Tulsa and stop at the center of the universe.
Wouldn't you love it if a random spot in Tulsa, Oklahoma, actually was the center of the earth? One day, God's like, you know what? The crazy thing is that was dead center, the whole thing. I can't believe it.
Chris Morphew says there's a pink lake on a tiny island off the coast of Western Australia. Apparently, you can drink the water because back in the 1800s, the island was used as a base of operations by pirate John Blackjack Anderson. So there's a pink lake somewhere. That's pretty cool.
Have you ever flown into Salt Lake City and seen Salt Lake?
No, I haven't.
Pink.
Wow.
Literally, it's this craziest thing. It's like, and I didn't know what it was when we were landing, and somebody said that's actual Salt Lake, and it's like, a natural phenomenon where everything, it turned pink. You can't drink it. That's what Salt Lake, but it's crazy looking.
I'm looking now. It's crazy.
I want to talk about Anna's suggestion because
please do. I got
some questions here. So she said, I still wonder about those metal monoliths in the desert, which I think she's talking about. There's like these random metal monoliths in the desert. No one knows where they came from or why. Yeah, but
the people think it's a prank, like somebody's moving them around. But it's like these huge metal structures that just show up in the middle of nowhere and like the Arizona desert and stuff like that, and people are like trying to find them, and I think it's somebody just messing with everybody. But anyway,
according to Anna, she said, but after having a personal UFO sighting, I get more interested in what my neighbors report. The neighbor two doors down just shared a Ring camera video of high-speed lights on his own front porch. Let's talk about the personal UFO sighting, because that feels like we buried the lead on that one. I don't care about the metal monoliths anymore. I want to know what a personal UFO sighting is.
Maybe we need to have Anna on next week.
I might need to DM her and ask for some details.
I'm trying to know what happened, or maybe I don't want to know what happened.
I want to know exactly what happened. I would love to have a personal UFO sighting. I don't know if I would share it with anyone.
No, you absolutely have. So the funny story is, so last year I was working on another podcast that is no longer. There's one more episode coming, but that's it. It's called Hiding Something, and we looked at kind of different internet conspiracies and things. What's that?
It's a great show.
Oh, thank you. It's very, very fun to work on. It's coming to a conclusion later this week, but after that monolith was found, I was able to contact the pilot that actually first saw it and reported it to National Park authorities. And this guy had spent, 30 years in the Air Force, was a commercial pilot, was a very credible guy. And he was just flying over, saw something weird, called the Park Service, and they showed what it was. We landed down there, we took a helicopter, checked it out. And I was like, have you ever seen anything else out there? And he was like, I've never told anybody this, but I've seen some lights following me and moving around my plane at night,
Amazing.
flying over that area that I can't explain. He's like, I don't like to talk about it, but I don't know what to tell you. But if you're asking me directly, the answer is yes. I've seen things. He's like, one night I was flying out there and saw 2 lights coming directly at me. And I called the control tower of the airport that I was heading to, kind of on the horizon. And I said, hey, what are these? What planes are kind of flying in my flight path? And they're like, we have nothing on our radar right now and have no record of anything out there. He's like, I don't know how you can't have it on the radar. I see it right in front of me. And anyway, these 2 lights zipped around him, disappeared, and it was right near where that monolith was.
I know that's Derek's worst nightmare. I would love for that to happen to me.
See, it's not Derek's worst nightmare. It is rational people's worst nightmare.
Okay.
I'll
take it.
Gen Zers are irrational people because y'all spit.
I don't think you know this. I have a UFO tattoo. So I am fully pro UFOs. I would love to see one.
Emily,
I absolutely come in peace with the aliens.
I've never met a person that has talked, or I've never seen a person speak about UFO experience in a great way. I just never met anybody been like, you know what, man, I'd like to do that again. I'd love for him to probe me again. It felt great.
I didn't say I want to be probed. I just want to see it.
Well, the thing that comes with seeing them is the probing part.
You don't know that. You've never met an alien.
It's they're one and the same.
Did an alien tell you that? You don't know.
But the people that have said, we need to figure this out. Emily need to come back. We need to have Anna on the show. And the question is, did they probe you or not? That is the question.
Oh, gosh. Okay, hold on. I know we got to move on, but one quick alien hot take. I listened to a really great interviews on one of Vox's podcasts, and they were having this author who just has taken a very rational approach to the whole UAP thing. He's like, look, if the military and all these agencies are saying it's not real, then we have to be open to the fact, or it's not their technology. They don't know what it is. We have to be open to the fact that it could be extraterrestrial. But he actually proposed something that says, what if it is terrestrial? What if this is their planet and they've been here the whole time and they have under ocean bases and things like that, and we're just sort of the species living on the surface? How do we know they haven't been here longer than we have?
So true.
Hypothetically,
70% of the Earth's ocean have been undiscovered. So that could be true. We don't know what's down there. Could be aliens.
Y'all just blew my mind.
It still doesn't
now.
conflict with any sort of creation narrative. In fact, there's a lot of weird stuff in the Old Testament that it would adequately explain. Like God, when he first says, with the first time we see him, he's hovering over the surface of the water. That's literally the first time God makes an appearance.
Also, if you look at a lot of ancient structures from the Egyptians to the Incas to the whatever, there's fish creatures as part of the inscriptions and stuff. If you look at that, it's all these different civilizations have this same sort of weird fish being.
The flood covered the earth. We don't know if it went back down to what it was before. So there could have been things that when the flood went back down, covered up certain parts of the world.
Interesting.
There's so many things.
Like the lost city of Atlantis.
Yeah, Ezekiel had an encounter with a UFO. That's documented. Wheels upon wheels, this weird thing that just appeared to him, was flying over his head. We know that, in the time of Moses, there was giants that were not human that seemed very interested in human DNA. I mean, it sounds trippy, but that is documented weird Old Testament stuff. I'm just saying.
The rock creatures.
It's not... Yeah, exactly.
Shut your
some
face.
have interpreted them as rock.
Shut
but
your face. We're not going to talk about that movie.
but I just think, look, it's fun to think about, and especially in light of all these disclosure videos. Now, a lot of it sounds preposterous, but it's not. What's wrong with talking about it?
Nothing.
There's a documentary series on HBO about this little independent TV station about an hour outside of Las Vegas.
Yes.
And there's the characters in this town are crazy and literally. And there's this one lady who comes on this, what was it? A cable, what do they call it? When the community can just come do shows,
cable access.
It's cable access show. And she comes on and talks about her UFO experiences and stuff. And these are real people. And usually people who have encountered aliens are not the most well-grounded, we could say.
This is all I'm going to say. If y'all listening to us right now, and you like, man, let me get some advice from Derek. You probably don't need it because you was here before us. But anyway, please don't come back until I'm dead. Like, if y'all gonna invade or anything of that nature, don't come back till I'm dead. And some of the OGs that passed, I just don't see how Bishop Jenkins is gonna address this with the congregation. Like, cause they trying to figure out rent money, they trying to figure out all these other things right now. We got a lot on our plate right now. So just, if you could just, whatever y'all gonna do, just wait. Give us a little distance, because Bishop Jenkins and Mama Sue would definitely for sure appreciate that. This would be just too much for all of us. You know?
I just thought of something too. If they're here and they've been waiting to figure out, because it's like that movie Arrival. We just don't know how to communicate with each other. You guys saw that one with Amy Adams, where she's like, the translator's got to figure it out. If that's the problem, if it's a language barrier and we're just speaking different languages here, we need someone of our species that is very good at hyper elaborate illustrations that can break through. And it's very clear what he's trying to communicate right now.
You're not.
And I just had an idea of who could be our translator. I don't think it's going to be like Amy Adams. No. I think it's going to be someone who can communicate
with like visual messages,
visual ideas with elaborate illustrations, maybe involving someone else. Maybe they're gross sometimes. Maybe it involves spitting in someone's face to tell the aliens, about just how close we are as a species.
So Mike Todd is our tribute that we're going to send.
He's our Amy Adams. Yeah. He's our arrival. Like, when they come and they need to communicate,
he's a great communicator. He's a very effective communicator.
Hey, man. I don't even know what to say right now.
All right, well, if you want to see a bunch of other weird natural phenomenon, check out our mentions over at Relevant Podcast Twitter account. Okay, it's time for this week's
editorial question of the week.
Jesse, I hate you, bro. That was hilarious.
Sorry, Mike. I got love. Mike, I got love. You heard me at the beginning of the show. I'm just having fun at this point. It's all good.
Okay, well, you know what? You probably are thinking, we're going to ask an alien question. You know what? We're not. We're not asking an alien question. Earlier in the show, we were talking about a very famous sermon illustration that took America by storm this week. And it got us thinking, like Jesse said, like growing up in youth group and stuff like that, icebreaker games, sermon illustrations. We've all seen our share of over the top moments at church, the pastor trying to drive home a point. And so we want to know your most over the top sermon illustration moments that you've experienced at church, at youth group, at summer camp. Hit us up on Twitter at Relevant Podcast and wherever you see us post this question. I got one. In fact, I stopped going to the church after this. I had a pastor, we were going for about 2 years to this church, and the pastor, to make a point about what would you do, like would you stand up for Christ if your life was on the line? Okay, in the pulpit, pulls out a gun as a sermon illustration, and like, what if this gun was pointed at you? Da 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 da. And I'm like, I'm out. Like I'm done. I'm done
here, bro.
Yep. Yeah. So that was mine.
It's like, at that point, you're not illustrating. It's like, I understand conceivably what it would be like to have a gun pulled on me. I don't need you to actually pull one. Yeah. Like, you're not really illustrating anything. Yeah. You're just doing something that is terrifying.
Yeah. So you can't really do that in the churches I grew up in, because soon as dude would have pulled up with the gun, it would have been he'd have been lumped so fast. It's like Reservoir our pastor knew that was a bad idea, because there's a lot of strapped people in the audience. You would have got somebody blown out of the planet. So that's terrible, bro. Like, that's, oh my God. I'm sad you had to go through that, man.
I just figured, like, it's a little unstable. You know what I mean? That's not using wisdom, Anyway.
That's rough.
So hit us up on Twitter at Relevant Podcast. Tell us the craziest sermon illustration you've ever seen. Well, before we wrap up, I want to thank Brooke Ligertwood for joining us today. Make sure to check out her new single, and don't miss her new album, 7, which comes out next month. A couple of updates, housekeeping. Make sure that you've seen all the amazing conversations in our winter digital issue. We have conversations with Andrew Garfield, Lin-Manuel Miranda, Shad, and so many more. It's stacked. You can see our winter issue right now at relevantmagazine.com. Just click on the magazine tab and there it is for free. Also, while you're online, head over to relevantstore.com to check out our latest merch, our annual print edition, sweatshirts, podcast fan gear, a bunch of stuff. There's some good deals going on right now at relevantstore.com. Go check it out. Also, while you're at our site, relevantmagazine.com, sign up for our daily newsletter to keep up with all the great latest stuff we're putting out every weekday morning. We send you our top 5 trending stories, cut out all the fluff, just the cream of the crop. You can sign up right there at relevantmagazine.com. Also, make sure to follow Relevant on all the socials to stay up on all the latest relevant news. We're on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Hey, if you like all the music that we play on the show, we have a Spotify playlist just for you. You can search for Heard on the Relevant Podcast over on Spotify. Also, that's a precursor to a few new playlists that we're about to launch. So go follow Relevant on Spotify. There you go. Okay, on that note, we'll wrap it up. I'm Cameron Strang.
I'm Jesse Carey.
And I'm Derek Minor.
I'm Emily Brown.
Downtown Emily Brown.
Downtown
we will
Emily
see
Brown.
you on Tuesday. Have a great weekend, everyone.
Thanks for listening to the Relevant Podcast. Check out our features, interviews, and news updates every day at relevantmagazine.com. And make sure to follow Relevant on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram for the latest. For more great podcasts, browse the shows on the Relevant Podcast Network, which you can find at our site. And while you're there, don't miss the all-new era of Relevant Magazine. A new issue releases every other month at relevantmagazine.com.
Tyler will take you to places like an artisan pickle truck.
Relevant Podcast Network.